In today's lesson, I'm going to give you a superpower, and we're going to go crazy with it. How crazy? Well, let me show you. Now, wait a moment, I hear you asking. What did you just do there? You've spent the last two lessons teaching us boring functional harmony. You've explained that successive notes in the major scale or the minor scale are called degrees, and we can build chord on these degrees, and you've explained that we can assign each degree a role, a subdominant, a dominant, or a tonic, and then that subdominants lead into dominants, which lead into tonics. So how on earth did you go from something that simple into something that sounds complex like what you've played at the beginning? And really what I've played was a chord progression that contained the chords C major 7, B minor 7, E dominant 7, A minor 7, G minor 7, C dominant 7, F major 7, and then you can play, say, an F minor major 7, and conclude with a C major 7. Well, I'm glad you asked, because I'm going to teach you something which is very, very special today. And to explain the idea behind this, let's look at the following chord progression. Let's take a C major 7, leading into an A minor 7, F major 7, G dominant 7, and C major 7. Now we have a fairly easy way of understanding this using functional harmony in C major. We start out from the tonic, and then an A minor 7 is also a tonic, and then we play the subdominant to the dominant and return to the tonic. Now here comes the superpower part. It turns out that we can treat any chord in a chord progression as if it was the tonic in some other scale. This is called tonicization. For example, the F major 7th chord is the chord built on the 4th degree of the C major scale, right? If you play the C major scale and you start constructing you start with the C major 7th chord and you move up, then on the 4th degree, you get an F major 7 chord. But what if we pretend it's actually the chord built on the 1st degree of the F major scale, right? We could have played an F major scale and just constructed the F major 7th chord on its 1st degree. Well, this would mean, if this was the tonic, really it's the 1st degree, that we can lead into it with the subdominant to the dominant to the tonic in the key of F major. So let's take a look at the F major scale. And if we build our chords on this scale, then we start out with an F major 7, G minor 7, A minor 7, B flat major 7, C dominant 7, D minor 7, E half diminished, and F major 7. Now, a subdominant to a dominant to a tonic chord progression in this key might be a 4-5-1. So we can have a B flat major 7 to a C dominant 7 to an F major 7. We could also use a 2-5-1, which is, the 2 also plays a subdominant role, and a 2-5-1 is really more common in jazz. So we could have a G minor 7 to a C dominant 7 to an F major 7. And tonicization means that we can append those chords before the F major 7, the target chord, regardless of the key that the progression is in. In our case, the original progression is in the key of C major. So this means that we can take the simple progression, C major 7, A minor 7, F major 7, G dominant 7 to C major 7, and we can tonicize the F major 7 by adding a 2-5-1 to it in the key of F major, meaning we can stick in the G minor 7 to the C dominant 7 before the F major 7. And this would sound like this. Now the added chords, the G minor 7 and the C dominant 7, don't play any well-defined or clear functional roles in the key of the original progression, which is C major, but they play very clear functional roles of a subdominant and a dominant in the key of the target chord, the F major 7. Now it's common to refer to the C dominant 7 as a secondary dominant, a dominant not in the key of the current progression, but in the key of the chord being tonicized, or tonicized. I'm not exactly sure what the correct conjugation of that is. By analogy, we would also call the G minor 7 a secondary subdominant, although that is not a common term and you will not hear people using it as much. But it's just a way of thinking. Now, secondary function, like this, has a special notation using the /, which you can now see on the screen. The symbol to the right of the slash is the target chord in the original key, while the symbol to the left of the slash is the current chord in the modulated or tonicized key. So a 2, minor 2 /4 means take the 4 major 7th chord in the current scale and constructs its major scale and play the minor 2nd degree in that scale, which, as we've already noted, is a G minor 7. Similarly, the 5 /4 means take the target 4 chord in the current scale, construct its associated major scale, which is an F major, and play the dominant 7th chord built on the 5th degree in that scale, which is a C dominant 7. Just to show you how universal and powerful the idea of tonicization is, let's use it a second time. Let's take our current chord progression and tonicize the A minor 7 now. So we're dealing with minor harmony, and as you've seen in the previous lesson, we can choose from groups of subdominants and dominants. In the key of A minor, we can use the minor 2nd, or which would be a B minor 7 as the subdominant, and the dominant 7th on the 5th degree, or an E dominant 7 as the dominant function. So appending these, we get the following progression. And I'm also showing on screen the proper Roman numeral notation of this progression, highlighting the secondary roles of the newly added B minor 7 and E dominant 7. Let's see now how the idea of tonicization applies to some famous songs. We'll take two well-known pop songs, which I will play in the key of C major for simplicity, or A minor, and we'll start with Yesterday by the Beatles. Now, because these are pop songs, they don't make substantial use of 7th chords, so all of the chords shown and discussed here will be triads, so either major or minor, really. Now, Yesterday goes like this. And that's just the beginning. Now, the appropriate harmonic analysis of the beginning of the song is the following. It's shown on screen. You start with a tonic, and then you have a 2-5-1 tonicizing the A minor chord. And then you have back to this key of C major, the subdominant an F, to the dominant a G, to the tonic a C. So the B minor and the E are in the key of A minor. And you would say also that the E is the secondary dominant of A minor. Let's take another example. We'll play Just the Two of Us by Grover Washington Jr. To stay faithful to the original, let me switch my sound to an electric piano. So and I'll play the chord progression first for the chorus, and then we'll work out the chords and the functional roles and so on. So what I'm playing here, with some modifications, which I won't really go into in depth, is an F major 7, E dominant 7, A minor 7. Then you have a chromatic motion to A flat minor 7, G minor 7, C dominant 7, then F major 7, E dominant 7, and A minor 7. Now, here's the Roman numeral functional analysis of this progression, which is in the key of A minor. You can see it on the screen. And you can almost imagine, let's reverse engineer it, you can almost imagine Grover Washington starting out with just a simple A minor 7 and sort of humming to himself, maybe, let me play this A minor 7. Now, this sounds very boring, because it is, but how about we add a subdominant to a dominant twice? So we can play, we're in the key of A minor, and we can play an F major 7 for the subdominant, to an E dominant 7 for the dominant, to an A minor 7. And we repeat this twice. So now we have Finally, what we can now do is tonicize the second F major 7. So we can add a 2-5-1 in the key of F major. And a 2-5-1 would be a G minor 7 to a C dominant 7 to an F major 7. A 2-5-1 in the key of F major. So now we would have And finally, we can add the little chromatic motion to tie in the A minor to the G minor 7 just by moving chromatically from A minor 7, A flat minor 7 to the G minor 7. So and we've basically invented, so to speak, just the two of us. Now, it's always a bit difficult to practice abstract concepts such as tonicization and functional harmony, but I'll just repeat what I've said in the previous lessons, which is the greatest way of practicing these ideas is analyzing songs. It should ideally be songs that you enjoy. They don't have to be jazz standards. They can be pop songs as well, as you've just seen. Not all of them will really lend themselves to functional harmonic analysis, but this is really the best way to flex your skills. Now, you won't always be able to also figure out the functional roles of all of the chords in a progression, which is fine, but you will nevertheless be able to analyze some of them and your abilities will become better and better over time. You will also pick up additional concepts as we move through the course, so those will help you also identify the roles of chords which you at the moment cannot fully decipher. That's it for today. In the next lesson, we will delve more in depth into chord substitutions and discuss some widely used concepts like the tritone substitution and how and when to use them. I hope to see you then. Until then, I hope you've learned something interesting, and I will see you next time.